Hello, everyone. The United States has officially announced the F-47, its sixth-generation fighter jet. I believe that the United States has fallen into a trap set by China, and the United States is also aware that it is a trap. The United States has used such a trap before, but now it has no choice but to step into it. The United States has officially announced its sixth-generation fighter jet, the F-47. Although this aircraft still exists only on posters for now, it has finally been officially announced. After all, as the so-called big boss of the global underworld, when walking around the world, just relying on words without having some weapons in hand would not only mean losing face but also make its allies disobedient. Don't you think so? However, for the officially announced F-47, the United States may have to pay a heavy price. On the surface, losses in the tens of billions of dollars are inevitable, and this doesn't even count the possible aftereffects. For example, it may severely damage the strength of the U.S. military. Why do I say this? Let's analyze today why the United States knows it's a trap but still jumps into it. And let's take a look at what the confrontation between major powers is really like. To make this clear, we need to start with the F-35. When the F-35 first came out, it shocked the whole world. The allies of the United States showered it with praise. The advent of the F-35 actually posed a huge threat to China and Russia at that time. The reason is simple. At that time, China and Russia's anti-stealth technology and hypersonic technology were not mature. In addition to equipping itself with the F-35, the U.S. military could also equip this fighter jet in large quantities to its allies. The initial plan of the United States was to sell approximately 3,000 F-35s globally, with 1,300 for its allies and 1,700 for its own use. It can be said that the revenue from this was estimated to reach tens of billions of dollars at that time. If we add the annual maintenance and repair costs, it would add another $7 or $8 billion. In today's terms, that's almost $2 trillion. However, on January 11, 2011, China's J-20 stealth fighter jet emerged out of nowhere, shocking the United States and its allies at once. It broke the myth that the F-35 was the only dominant stealth fighter and became the second in the world. Please don't underestimate this second place. It suddenly disrupted the United States sales plan for the F-35. The reason is simple. Previously, the F-35 was the only magic weapon, capable of conducting a dimension-reducing strike and always winning in every confrontation. Although the cost for allies to buy this magic weapon was high, whether it was several billion or tens of billions of dollars, when spread over more than a decade, compared with the increasingly rising military expenditure, it was almost like bullying others without much cost, and the benefits far outweighed the costs. But now it's different. The J-20 has also emerged. Although the J-20 and the F-35 each have their own advantages and disadvantages, we should know that for the allies of the United States, as long as it's not a sure-win situation, even if it's a draw, it's something they don't want to encounter or bet on. Why? Mainly because they can't afford to lose. Losing or drawing means their invincible image is shattered, and it will lead to the embarrassing situation that the United States faces with the Houthi armed forces. You know, in the past, no country dared to confront the United States. Now, the United States and its allies are also very clear in their hearts that they themselves are the source of chaos in the world. If they don't go out and stir up big trouble, trouble won't come to them. Based on this logic, if you buy the F-35 but can't go out and bully others, what's the use of it? Wouldn't it just become a money-eating beast that only has expenses but no income? Moreover, if something really happens in the future, isn't there still the United States to take the lead? Here, I want to ask you a question first. Do you know how much Germany pays the United States in security fees each year, calculated based on the 35,000 U.S. troops stationed in Germany? Let me tell you, it's less than 4,000 euros per year, which is about the monthly salary of a European. And the extra part is basically paid by the United States. Now you should understand why these European countries are racking their brains to invite the U.S. military to be stationed. Because the military expenditure they save can be used to distribute welfare or develop the economy. And the large amount of economic benefits generated by the U.S. military forces station their flow into the hands of Jewish financial capital, that is, the Democratic Party. Because Europe, Japan, and South Korea are the basic support bases of the Democratic Party. This is exactly what Trump is most frustrated about. If the United States doesn't extort Europe by withdrawing troops or other means, it would be a complete fool. Let's get back to the point. Due to reasons such as inflation, the manufacturing cost of the F-35 is getting higher and higher, and many problems have also emerged in its performance and quality. This has led the allies of the United States to start reducing the purchase quantity of the F-35 or delaying the purchase time. The estimated total sales of the F-35 have suddenly dropped a lot, at least by 1/3, that is, more than $400 billion. In addition, in the past 2 years, China has imposed restrictions on the key supply chain of the F-35, such as some key metals and materials. Now the United States can't even manufacture the aircraft. In the whole year of 2024, the United States only produced 110 F-35s. As of the beginning of 2025, the United States has only produced a total of 1,000 F-35s. In almost 10 years, it has only completed 1/3 of the original production plan and hasn't even recovered the direct research and development cost of more than $400 billion, not to mention other costs. Some reports also said that the total cost of the F-35 during its service life will reach $2 trillion. The emergence of the J-20 not only broke the myth that the United States was the only dominant force but also shattered the myth that the United States claimed, that is, it would always be one generation or more ahead of its rival countries in military equipment. This has forced the United States to hastily announce that it will develop the 6th-generation fighter jet. The emergence of the J-20 has not only enabled China to catch up with the United States in military strength but also disrupted the original plans and deployments of the United States. In the game between major powers, what is most feared is losing one's composure and not knowing what to do. Going from being ahead to being on par and then to being behind, anyone would find it hard to accept, not to mention the United States. If the emergence of the J-20 caused a decline in the sales of the F-35, then the emergence of China's 6th-generation fighter jet has directly pronounced the death sentence for the F-35 project. The United States didn't expect that China's 6th-generation fighter jet would be test-flown so quickly. I don't know if you've heard, but on the early morning of the day when China's 6th-generation fighter jet emerged, the Pentagon held an emergency meeting overnight. The United States has gone from being one generation ahead to being on par with its opponent and then to being one generation behind in just a few years. Now the United States is in big trouble. Because this is not just a simple problem of being one generation behind in aircraft. That the F-35 can't be sold, with the $400 billion in research and development costs and the trillions of dollars in potential revenue going down the drain, is just a minor issue. The most troublesome thing is that the sea and air combat system that the United States has long relied on needs to be changed. This is not just about the fighter jets but also involves a large number of naval vessels updates and renovations. Especially now, when the industrial capacity of the United States is extremely weak, not only has the rhythm of the fighter jets upgrading been disrupted, but the rhythm of the Navy has also been thrown off. And these are things that even adding several $1 trillion can't make up for. In fact, the United States is very clear about its current situation. Let's recall what the United States was like before the first flight of China's 6th-generation fighter jet at the end of last year. The United States has always been saying that in order to reduce the risk of military conflict, it will not engage in an arms race, right? Because for the United States, the military superiority on paper is still an advantage and can still maintain its military hegemony on paper. Although this is of no use to major powers, it has a great deterrent effect on the allies and small countries of the United States. By leading this group of allies, as long as there are no accidents and there is no direct war with China or Russia, the United States can still check and balance major powers on the surface. The reason is simple. Major powers are very clear about each other's strength, but outsiders are different. This is also the reason why the United States dare not directly confront Russia. And the first flight of China's 6th-generation fighter jet, in my opinion, is to tell the whole world that the balance of power has now changed. The United States must understand this clearly, but it just pretends not to see it and pretends not to understand. In the news media of the United States, there are even statements like an F-16 pilot wanting to engage in a dogfight with our J-36, and a female host saying, "I can see China's aircraft." So how can it be a stealth fighter? Such absurd remarks are everywhere in the United States. In short, The core idea is I can't see it, it's all fake. This is not arrogance but stupidity and badness. It is the ordinary people in the United States who have been brainwashed. In fact, I don't think it matters whether the United States believes it or not. What matters are its allies and other small countries. The facts are in front of them, and the United States can no longer deceive them. Now there are only two paths in front of the United States. One is to cooperate with China, and the second is to follow suit and engage in an arms race like it did with the Soviet Union in the past. This is why I said at the beginning that the United States has used this kind of trap before. As the world's #1 power, even if the United States wins the arms race, it won't get much benefit. But if it loses, it will surely fall into an abyss, just like the United Kingdom in the past and Gorbachev. Now the military superiority that the United States depends on for survival is being challenged. Without the support of military superiority, its dreams of financial, technological, economic, and industrial backflow will all become dreams, and it will be bitten back by more of its allies. Therefore, in this situation, the United States' official announcement of the F-47 is equivalent to it having to jump into the trap by itself, and it's the kind of trap that it can't get out of once it's in. First of all, by officially announcing the F-47. It is equivalent to completely closing the F-35 project. The previous investment has gone to waste, and it's very difficult to recover it. Secondly, the official announcement is like imprisoning itself. No one knows when the F-47 will have its first flight and what the effect will be after the first flight. If it surpasses China's J-36 at that time, it's just the normal level. But if it's inferior to China or doesn't have its first flight for a long time, doesn't it mean losing? In this way, it will deal a heavy blow to the confidence of its allies and the United States itself. To be honest, even if the F-47 comes out, at most it will just be on par with China, and the United States still can't solve the problem of its systemic decline. The United States has gone to so much trouble just to catch its breath, but it can't do without this breath either. And the most crucial and troublesome thing is that the already difficult reform of the United States, or the so-called American dream, is likely to be interrupted or change its direction. Thirdly, the project is handed over to Boeing, a company that has a bad reputation, can't even make a valve properly, and is on the verge of bankruptcy. Can the F-47 project be successfully born now? But even if it's unreliable, there's no other choice because Lockheed Martin has even more serious problems. There may also be another thought, that is, to save Boeing. After all, it is the eldest son of the United States and the totem of American industry. So, now you can see that this is the game between major powers. There are no guns and cannons, but it's extremely dangerous, and the United States has to jump into the trap. I think you should not be unfamiliar with the current situation because the Soviet Union also faced similar problems in the past. Well, that's all for today. Please help subscribe and give a thumbs up. Thank you. It should be noted that some of the viewpoints and statements in the original text may be one-sided or based on speculation. In international relations, the situation is complex and diverse, and different countries' military developments and strategic layouts are the result of a combination of multiple factors. And the development of military technology is also a dynamic process that requires comprehensive and objective analysis.